Welcome to today's talk session. My name is Deidre Moss, and I am the host of Can We Talk? I'm an educator, a PhD candidate, motivator, and a talk connoisseur. In honor of Women's International Day, Can We Talk has dedicated the entire month of March to discuss the many contributions that women have made and their impact on our society and the issues that impact them. Today, we will devote our session to women with disabilities. And today, my guest is Monique Roker-Carey, and she is very familiar with this issue. She is a commissioner with the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities. And so at this time, I will pass the virtual mic to her and have her introduce herself. Ms. Roker-Carey.
Hi, good day, everyone. Hi, Ms. Moss. Thank you for having me. As Ms. Moss said, my name is Monique Roker-Carey. I am the Deputy Chair of the National Commission for Persons with Disability and the President of the Bahamas National Council for Disability. I am a 36-year wheelchair user, and I have, I think, conquered the master of, using a wheelchair. I haven't allowed my disability to stop me from doing anything. I have obtained a master's degree in business administration, a master's degree in human resource development, a teaching diploma in adult workforce education, and a bachelor's degree in information systems administration. So I'm employed with the Bahamas government for the past 24 years, and I am a trainer as well, and I also work in human resources. And so that's just a little background about myself.
Thank you, Ms. Roker-Carey. And as you mentioned, you are the holder of numerous degrees and you're a very qualified individual. And so today, can we talk about women with disabilities?
We can.
Great. And so just a brief overview is just something brief to guide our discussion today. The Bahamas signed on to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in 2013 and subsequently passed the Persons with Disabilities Equal Opportunity Act in 2014. Importantly, these documents make provision and speak to the rights of persons with disabilities in the Bahamas. And so moving forward, we will discuss the following points. Mrs. Roker-Carey, can you tell us about the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities and what is it responsible for? Services, initiatives, programs that you offer?
Well, like you said, the commission was started in 2014. The primary purpose of the commission is to ensure that persons with disabilities are treated equally and fairly. We are responsible for ensuring that the rights of persons with disabilities are met, and if there are discrepancies or issues, we try to help as best as we can. We promote disability, and we try to, like I said, assist persons in the field of disability, as best as we possibly can. Now, there are 15 commissioners. We've been appointed from 2018, so we're in the last couple months of our period. So there were 15 persons, and we're led by Pastor Reverend Lester Ferguson, and there are 4 secretariat members, so they quite capably lead us daily in our operations.
And
now, go ahead.
No, you continue.
Okay, I was about to say that we are also responsible for protecting and promoting the rights of persons with disabilities, ensuring equal access, and that's to buildings and parking as well. We are responsible for advancing equal opportunities, which includes education, training, living accommodations, and healthcare as well. So we do the best that we can to ensure that persons with disabilities are actually given all of those opportunities, the same way that everyone else is giving those opportunities.
Thank you, Ms. Roker-Carey. And what is your view on disability issues in the Bahamas? What challenges maybe do you face or situations that you may know about with persons who may have disabilities, their challenges, or what specific challenges do you face as a woman with a disability in the Bahamas?
Well, challenges, the biggest challenge that I actually face with being a person with a disability, and I guess being a woman makes it just a little bit more of a challenge, is the fact that persons overlook my ability and they focus on my disabilities. They don't look at the fact that the disability doesn't define who I am. So like I said, I was able to do everything while I was, using a wheelchair. So the disability does not define who I am. It hasn't deterred me from doing anything or accomplishing any goal in life. And I realized that some of the challenges in the Bahamas that we face is, I think, accommodations. That's one of the biggest challenges that we face. Persons are not able to do certain things that they want to or need to do based on the fact that accommodations aren't there. Something as simple as perhaps going into a building. Because I use a power chair, I'm unable to get into that building. It may only have 2 steps, but I'm still not able to get into that building. A blind person, they may want to access their bank account. They may want to do it on their own. But because most of the machines don't have the capability to allow them, to access these machines freely, they're not able to do certain things that they want to do or allow them to be as independent as they possibly can be. So that is a challenge. That's, I guess, some of the basic challenges that we as persons with disabilities face. Inclusion. We're not included in a lot of cases.
And that pertains to accommodation.
Yeah, it pertains to accommodations and just basic daily living as a disabled person. Because if you don't have access to basic things or basic necessities or rights, you aren't able to function as freely or as independently as you want to, or as you possibly should be able to. So they are some of the challenges that we do face. And as simple as they sound, they can create a problem.
And we've signed on to different documents, different conventions to make provision for rights for persons with disabilities. So is there a gap in terms of implementing policies and actually practicing them?
Well, the thing is, there are still some conventions that we are in the process of signing on to. And I feel as though even though the government they've done an excellent job in terms of trying to catch up with, the rest of the world or keep up with the rest of the world. But the thing is, there still has to be a buy-in with the public or with the community. And the deadline has passed for persons to be able to accommodate persons. Let's say, I'm just using the example, persons with wheelchairs in their establishments. A lot of the places still don't have basic ramps. So again, persons still don't have access to those places. So even though we've signed on to certain treaties, the Bahamas still has some ways to go to catch up, with the rest of the world or to be able to accommodate disabled people.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that in terms of the government the role of government in addressing issues with disabilities, and do you believe that they're doing a good job? And I heard you mention that you do believe that they are. You do believe that they are, but maybe at the community level, like you said, maybe we have to create a buy-in.
Right.
At the community,
yeah.
At the community level.
Yes, we do. But I would actually say that I've seen quite an improvement of the way that person in the community or the public, communicates or reacts to persons with disabilities. I think that persons are now more accepting and they're more inclusive to persons with disabilities. Because I know some years ago, if I go out, persons would look at me and, just stare at me as though there was something wrong. I mean, beyond my disability. But now persons would look at me like, well, they just kind of ignore or carry on smartly, whatever it is that they're doing. So we are becoming more accepting of persons with disabilities. So that's a positive thing.
And do you think that we're more open to discussing issues with disabilities at the community
Yes, definitely we are. Definitely we are. And right now, what we're doing, you allowing me to be on your show, I think that it's an excellent opportunity, to get the word out about disability. Because persons oftentimes too, they would look at someone with a disability and they feel as though there is nothing that they can actually do for themselves. Persons feel as though I don't work, just because I use a wheelchair. They think that I'm unemployed. They think that there's nothing that I can possibly do. They don't think that I'm educated, but I guess that's a stereotype that the public is getting over, but you're always going to have certain stereotypes. But I see that there is increased acceptance of persons with disabilities.
Thank you, Ms. Carey, for sharing that. Roker-Carey, sorry, for sharing that, because, like you mentioned, persons may feel like, you may not be employed, or you may not be actively involved in doing things in your community, or even doing things in life in general.
Right.
And I guess maybe it's bringing a level of awareness, because even for myself, I've been ignorant to some things, and there's been some things that I've learned in doing training. For example, I did training with the blind, and I learned that some blind persons that were able to cook for themselves.
Right.
So it's just, it's I guess bringing an awareness to yourself and making an effort to learn and to learn about these things.
Definitely, definitely. And I'm so glad that you said that you've had the opportunity to work with blind persons, so just based on that and the role that you actually play in the community, if you say or communicate certain things like that, it would bring awareness. That's a way of bringing awareness to disability as well. Just speaking about it.
Thank you. Thank you. And what do you think we as a people and as a society can do? Well, we touched on this anyway, but I'm going to ask it again. What do you think we can do to improve awareness and address issues that impact the community of persons with disabilities? What can we do to improve the situation?
I think that a couple things that can be done, exactly what you're doing now, interviewing, bringing awareness to the public. That's one thing that definitely works. Find a disabled person, sit down, have a conversation with them. What is your disability, if you don't mind me asking? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Just, ask basic questions, and you would learn so much from that person with a disability. And you can actually learn things from them, because you'd learn that persons who are blind, their hearing seems to be heightened. So it's a lot of things that you can actually learn from persons with disabilities. Excuse me. And I know a couple of years ago, perhaps 3 years ago, like I mentioned, I'm the president of the Bahamas National Council for Disability. And one initiative that was done was we celebrated BNCD month. So we had a month of activities. And one thing that the organization came up with was to, in terms of bringing awareness, was ask persons to take on the particular disability for a day or for a couple hours. I'll give you an example. Persons were blindfolded. So they were actually blindfolded, and they were given canes so that they can see what a blind person actually goes through. Persons were asked to use wheelchairs so that they can see what a wheelchair user actually goes through. So some persons were given crutches. So, things like that actually brought some awareness to quote unquote normal persons, so that they were actually able to see what it is that we go through on a daily basis. So I know it probably drove them out of their minds, but it kind of gave them an idea what we go through.
Thank you for mentioning that. Thank you for mentioning that, Mrs. Roker-Carey. I know, as I mentioned before, I would have done training with the blind, and
Right.
as you would have spoke about the blindfolding and using the white cane to maneuver. We kind of did that. We did that. And
Right.
it was interesting. It was interesting in seeing the public's reaction, because
Right.
sometimes you would have some, like we would have had to cross the road, and then you would have some persons who would be understanding and patient and allow you to cross. And then you
Right.
would have some persons who would blow and, you know, express impatience. So I think at a
Definitely.
community level, yeah, there's more
Definitely.
work. Mm-hmm.
Def-
There's more
Definitely.
work. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. There is.
And another thing that I learned in doing training with, because I also did training, sign language training as well with the deaf. And what I learned is, even though they were, I think I want to use the correct term now.
Mhm.
I really want to use the correct term. Even though they were deaf, a lot of them were very talkative, and they talk to each. I mean, it's just so much learning, and I'm like, wow, I really wish I could have joined that conversation, because they were going off. But a lot, when they got in their groups, they were very talkative. So
Right. Right.
it's about making yourself aware as well. It's one thing to
Definitely.
say you don't understand, and it's another thing to join the conversation and be a part of the community and make yourself aware of these issues that are going on.
Right. Definitely. Definitely.
And so what another point I wanted to ask is there anything else you would like to share, or anything else that you would like to talk about as it pertains to your position in the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities? Any initiatives, any programs that you guys may have in the future?
Well, right now, like I said, we are on the last couple months of our term, but in April, we intend to have a town hall meeting. That's something that we've been doing for almost the entire period of this set of commissioners. We have the town hall meetings and every quarterly, and we touch on points that are pertinent to disabilities at that time. So I realized that what we started doing was streaming live on Facebook while we had before the COVID started. So that's what we started to do. So we, had more persons actually able to join the town hall meetings. But after COVID began, we started to have the virtual town hall meetings. So it allowed persons from the family islands, to actually be able to sit in and to be able to interact and ask questions. So that was exciting for the commission. So, like I said, we have a town hall meeting coming up in April. We also what we're also asking persons to do is to register with the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities. We're in the Aventura Plaza on John F. Kennedy Drive, right next to Royal Bank, or where Royal Bank used to be. We ask persons to come to register with the commission, because we are trying to get a count as to how many disabled persons are actually in the country. We also want to use the data so that in the event that there's a natural disaster, we know who to look for. We know how many disabled persons there are. We know who may need special assistance, so we'd be able to actually get out there to them. So, we encourage people to go ahead and to register with the commission. That's been a challenge. It's been like pulling teeth, but we're trying to get persons to register with the commission. So that is two of the most pertinent things that we're doing now. And we continue to put out our public service announcements, advising people of, again, the natural disasters. We're putting out PSAs talking about the parking situations, because persons oftentimes, they just decide to park in a handicap parking, and they don't think that somebody actually needs that parking. Sometimes they'll park in this space and they're like, you know what, I'm only going to be 5 minutes. But we want to discourage them. That's something that the commission has been strong on, discouraging people from parking in those parking slots. So, we would like them to stop doing that as well. So that's something that we're pushing from that level. And the only way that you should be parking in those spaces is if you actually have a disabled decal. and those are distributed by the Bahamas National Council for Disability on Collins Avenue. So we encourage persons to get their decals or to not park in those spaces. So, you know, they're the things that the commission is trying to push, you know, right now as we speak. And for the last 2.5 years, you know, if I may say, I've worked with a wonderful group of persons, and the commissioners represent all aspects of disability. We have commissioners with disabilities. We have a wheelchair user, that's me. We have someone who is hard of hearing. We have somebody who is blind. We have persons representing civil society, Bahamas, labor, education, Ministry of Health. You know, so the commissioners represent every facet or most facets of our community, you know, so that when we come together, we can actually maximize results. You know, we discuss whatever needs to be sorted out or planned, you know, from various backgrounds. So that's what we actually do. You know, we try to ensure that the community of persons with disabilities are actually not left out. So that's what we do. And COVID has actually caused somewhat of a disruption of some of what we wanted to do, but it hasn't stopped us. So we found more creative ways to do what we needed to do, including the virtual town hall meetings. So it hasn't stopped us.
Well, you mentioned some very important points. The first one, actually, what you corrected me, because I was trying to find the right word for deaf, and I know that I was told it's hard of hearing. It's hard of hearing. So you're not supposed to use deaf, right?
I guess persons would prefer not to, but there's some persons who are actually unable to hear, and there's some persons who are hard of hearing. They can hear, but it's difficult for them to hear. You know, so I guess with certain terms, it depends on the individual, but yeah, for the most part, we use hard of hearing, but it's deaf and hard of hearing, so you're not out of order.
Okay. Another thing, what I wanted to ask you is, you mentioned the parking spaces. So let me, because I'm being ignorant, and I just need some guidance. So you have a disabled parking space, and I've seen persons where they are heavy down, pregnant, and they say, oh, I can't park far. I need to park in the disabled spot. Are they right in doing that?
No, they're not. They are definitely incorrect in parking in the space. I know on a couple of occasions, I've actually left my parking decal home, and even though my wheelchair is with me, of course, and we do not park in the disabled space, because anyone who comes out there, the security, the police, they should be able to see that sticker. And if it's not there, that car should be towed. You know, so we're hoping that the legislation is put in place, but we're hoping that we can get companies and the public to buy in, so that the process of towing cars and all of that other good stuff can actually begin to happen. So we're working on that as well.
Oh, so you're saying, even though you may have a disability, if you leave your decal at home, you're not going to park in a spot?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
Because you shouldn't.
So is it the lanyard that you hang over the visor, or is it the actual decal that you stick on the car?
No, it's an actual decal. Persons put it on their rear view mirror usually, but some persons go online and print them. Those are not legal. They would have to actually be purchased from the Bahamas National Council for Disability on Collins Avenue. It's in the old Ministry of Education building. So that's where they're purchased. And if you don't purchase one from there, from anywhere else, it's actually illegal.
Could you repeat that? That's some helpful information. Can you repeat that? So you can't just go online and just print?
No, you cannot go online and print well, you can, but you are wrong. You are actually committing an offense to go online or to just go into the store and purchase a disabled sticker. Disabled decals are to be purchased from the Bahamas National Council for Disability on Collins Avenue in the old Ministry of Education building. And one of the buildings in the old Ministry of Education yard and we're open from Monday to Friday, 10 to 2. And the government is actually in the process of regularizing the decals, so that it would run totally through the government system as well. So, but like, until that time, it must be purchased from BNCD on Collins Avenue.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing.
You're
Some
welcome.
interesting stuff. I'm learning as I go along too.
Definitely. Yes,
And so, lastly, do you have any other comments or anything else you would like to share before we close out?
I think that the primary thing that I would like to do is to just encourage the public to become more educated or informed about disabilities. Everyone who uses a wheelchair isn't paralyzed. Everyone who is hard of hearing, it doesn't mean that they're deaf. The level of ignorance just needs to be, I guess, corrected. Persons with autism, those persons feel as though they are not able to learn, but they can. We just treat everyone, we need to learn to treat everyone differently, because like I say, persons with autism, they have different levels of learning and different levels of intelligence. So some of those persons are so much more intelligent than I guess persons who are not challenged or who is not screened as having autism. So we just need to try to not be as ignorant and ask persons questions. If you want to know something about me, you can ask me. I don't have a problem you asking me a question about my disability. It's just the way that you ask me questions about my disability. But I have no problem with answering most questions.
And what I wanted to ask you, one thing I wanted to ask is, and this question may sound ignorant, but some persons may really need to know. But if I want to advocate for persons with disabilities, do I have to be disabled to understand? Do I have to be disabled to advocate on behalf of persons with disabilities?
No, ma'am, you do not. The Bahamas National Council for Disability, we are actually responsible for advocating for the rights of persons with disabilities. And we have members who are not disabled. And you don't even have to be a member of an organization to advocate for persons with disabilities. So definitely you don't have to have a disability to advocate. You just have to have a passion and a heart for persons with disabilities. So, and at the council, we welcome members. We are always looking for persons to come in and to help and to advocate, among other things.
Do you have, if persons would like to volunteer, is that an option?
Yes, definitely. We would like persons to come in and to volunteer their time. We've been doing things like cleaning up, we've had cleanup campaigns, trying to keep in the building clean, trying to keep the surroundings clean. We've had volunteers, come in and just assist. I know about maybe 2 years ago, some schools, the children actually came in and did their community service there. So things like that, we definitely encourage. We encourage people to do things like that. So definitely. Our telephone is currently not working, but we have an email address. It's bncouncil, COUNCIL, for disability @gmail.com. All small, lowercase letters. bncouncil for disability @gmail.com. And if you send an email, if you have any questions or concerns, I would answer them for you.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing with us today. I definitely learned a lot, and I'm sure whoever may be interested in learning and gaining an awareness of disabilities and persons with disabilities, and as a woman with disabilities, I learned a lot today. And so I would like to thank you, Mrs. Roker-Carey, for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Good, sorry?
No, I said thank you for having me.
No problem. I would like to thank our listening audience and like our page for future notifications of upcoming discussions. Comment under our videos. Let us know what you would like us to talk about and let us know your thoughts. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our Facebook page, and our Instagram. Thank you and good evening.